はい、それではね、皆様、今日は雨の中、お足元が悪い中ですね、お越しくださいましてありがとうございました。私は地球社会共生学部で学部の FD 委員会のコンビナを務めております林と申します。よろしくお願いいたします。本日はですね、このタイトルにございますように21世紀の地球社会で生き抜く力とは、というようなタイトルでございまして、本日の登壇者、なんとアメリカから我々招聘いたしました。テッドとかでご覧になられた方はもういらっしゃるかもしれないんですが、非常にアメリカでですね、ティンカリングスクールで有名な著名な方でございます。改めて私の方が紹介したいと思います。ゲーバー・ターリーさん、そしてマット・ブロッキーさん、お二人にはオールイングリッシュで、今日はレクチャーをしてもらいますが、英語が、若干得意ではない方々のために、字幕で日本語も表示しますので、非常にユーザーフレンドリーな内容になっております。はい。そして私の方がですね、私と同じように STEAM の研究を共同でしているですね、先生がお越しになっております。福井大学の竹本教授でございます。そして関西学院大学の角先生。そして、最後にですね、今回我々の学部だけの開催ではございませんで、STEAMS ラボジャパン、という会社と一緒に、開催をすることになっております。今日もこのお二人の登壇者を招聘していただいたのは、この会社のご尽力によるというものでございますので、そこの、代表取締役社長でございます鈴木社長、鈴木裕太郎さんでございます。それでは、まずですね、我々の学部の、長でございます、学部長でございます松永エリック先生に一言ご挨拶をお願いいたします。
Thank you very much for coming and welcome to Amigaki University. It's really an honor to participate in your session. You know, I know you since 2011. It's a long time. I found you. はい、ということで、これからですね、すごく面白いセッションが始まります。実は僕はですね、もともとレーバーさんの本をですね、2011年から読んでまして、で当時皆さんの多分うちの子供と同じぐらいだと思うので、多分ですね、皆さんもいろんな日本の教育を受けてきたと思います。皆さん多分ね、すごく優しく育てられてきちゃったんですね、学校の中で。そんな中で僕は学校これで大丈夫なのかなと思いました。自分の子供を見ていて、その時に読んだのがゲーバーさんの本だったんですね。Dangerous Thing ね、Dangerous Thing ね、危険なことやれって言ってるわけです。もうそれをね、そのまま僕は本であったんですよ。こちらあります。この50のこと、僕ね、A 型なんですよね。なので一個一個子供にやらせました。一個一個やらせました。なので皆さんですね、ぜひこれね、帰ったらやってみてください。この本、今日のセッションを受けて、そしてまた帰ってこの50のセッションをですね、全部やった時に本当の教育って何なんだろうってことを多分思ってくれると思います。なので今日は本当に心から楽しい1時間になると思いますので、これね、またとないセッションです。皆さん、もしテッド見てなかったら見てくださいね。ゲーマーさんのテッドむちゃむちゃ面白いですから。なので、まず今日はセッションを聞いて、帰ったらテッドを見て、そして50の危険なことをやってください。はい、ということで、私も楽しみたいと思いますので、今日はよろしくお願いいたします。
この本、本当に面白いですよ。指と指を瞬間接着剤でくっつけてみようとかね、あとは乾電池を舐めてみようとか、そういうのがあるんです。で、これは全然ギャグとかいうものではなくて、実はそういったことが子どもたちの教育にとっては大事なんだよっていうことになります。
接着剤と大変でした。
本には自然にしておけば取れるというふうには書いてありましたね。 はい、それではですね、これから、進行役をですね STEAMS ラボジャパンの尾崎さんの方に、交代をしまして、鈴木社長のご挨拶をお願いいたします。
では弊社 STEAMS ラボジャパンの代表取締役の鈴木社長、よろしくお願いいたします。
すみません、ただいま紹介に預かりました鈴木と申します。皆様本日はお足元悪い中本当にありがとうございます。はい、我々はですね、好きを見つけて得意を育むといういわゆるビジョンの中でですね、この、子どもたちにしっかりとした教育教材を皆さんにお送りするためにという仕事をさせていただいています。その中で、もう平素よりですね、力強いサポートをいただいている、御校のですね、地球社会共生学部の林先生、そして福井大学の竹本先生、並びに、松永学部長も今回皆様にですねチャンスを頂戴しまして、このような会を開催させていただいております。サンフランシスコで精神的でですね、本質的な素晴らしい PBL、教育を展開されている我々のパートナーであるゲーバーさんとマットさんのお二人を、お迎えして、彼らの教育についての志や、実践方法を、皆様にご紹介できることを本当に心から幸せに感じております。短い時間ではございますが、皆さんにとってとても有意義な時間になりますように、私の挨拶とさせていただきます。本日はよろしくお願いいたします。
ではこれから本編を始めさせていただきますが、先ほどお話があったように英語進行でちょっと字幕が出てくることになりますので、もし後ろの方見えない方いらっしゃいましたら、まだ前の席ありますので移動の方も気軽にしていただければと思います。ではこれからマットさんにマイクを渡したいと思います。よろしくお願いします。
Hi everybody! Okay, well, thank you very much, Junko, and thank you to STEAMS Lab Japan and to Aoyama University for welcoming us here today. We're honored to be here and excited to share with you some ideas that we hope will be useful to all of you. And some of you probably understood that. Thank you. So, Tinkering Labs is a relatively young company, but our idea really started back in 2005 when my co-founder, Gabriel Tully, started to ask himself, what would happen if we trusted kids with real tools, real challenges, and most dangerously, their own ideas? What could they do, what could they achieve, and how would it change their idea of what they could accomplish in the world? And so he started a camp to find out. The first tinkering school session took place in 2005. And a group of 7-year-olds was given 6 days, more or less suitable materials, and the challenge of designing and building a roller coaster made out of wood that they could actually ride on themselves. And my son was one of them. That's him at the far right, not looking at the camera, looking away. So he's 25 years old now, so this was a while ago. And it was their job, it was the students' job to do all the thinking in the building. They were provided with real tools, real basic materials, and just enough supervision to avoid serious injury. And after a week, they had done it. It was frankly a mind-blowing experience for all of us. I didn't think they could do it. I know my son didn't think they could do it. But they kept working. And by the end of the camp, they had a roller coaster that not only could they ride on, but their parents could also ride on when they came to pick them up. So that's how it started. And since then, Tinkering School has grown and grown. And in every case, kids are given a real challenge and a real problem to solve, and then real materials to solve it with. So for example, if the challenge is to make a boat, in this case it's a boat made out of plastic wrap and cardboard, we're going to take you down to the bay and put you into the bay and see if it really floats. Here the challenge was to build a motorcycle that is powered by an electric weed eater, like a garden tool that you would use for weeds. And it actually did work. They were able to ride it. This group of teenagers was given the challenge of building a wind-powered vehicle that could go 5 miles down this abandoned railroad track. So after a few years, Tinkering School had grown and grown, and I think Gaber started thinking, if kids are so excited about learning at camp, where they rush through breakfast and don't want to come in for dinner, they want to keep working on their projects, why isn't school the most exciting place in a kid's life? So we created Brightworks, a K-12 independent school in San Francisco, which was originally housed in this former mayonnaise factory. And at Brightworks, the kids are grouped into mixed-age bands and are supported in discovering and nurturing their own interests. We believe that kids should be the architects of their own education, which sometimes means literally being architects. So the kids designed and built this band space with an upstairs and a downstairs to support different kinds of learning. We also try to support kids in pursuing their own interests. So in this case, a child was wondering, what does a balloon look like when it's popping? Not before it's popped and not after it's popped and I can just hold it in my hand, but at the very moment that I put the pinprick into it. And so we helped him build a high-speed photography tent where he could find out. And another aspect of Brightworks that Gabriel will talk about more is that the learning is organized into an arc where everyone in the school is focused on one theme at a time, from the littlest kids to the biggest teenagers. And at one time the arc was vision, and some kids took apart a camera and were able to see that a camera is kind of like an eye. And they also took apart an eye. This is an eye from a cow. And they could see that an eye is kind of like a camera. So after a few years of this, I started wondering, how can we capture what we've learned about what makes a truly engaging, deeply effective learning experience and put it into a form that any family or school could use? And we quickly determined that kits would be the way to go, by putting it all into a box, into a kit. And that's when we started Tinkering Labs. So in designing our kits, we had 3 goals. One was it should create a deeply engaging, highly effective learning experience. The second is that it should work for any child, meaning a wide range of ages, attitudes, backgrounds, experiences. The third is we wanted it to work in any school, camp, or home, anywhere in the world. And that meant that it had to be something that was affordable, reusable, and didn't take any special experience in order to use. Our thought experiment that we had at the time was, if the kit, this kit, just showed up in your house, and it was just there on the table and no one explained where it came from or why it was there, it should still have a chance of being useful and creating an exciting experience for children. So at this point, we think we've accomplished that with this electric motors catalyst kit. It's definitely creating the engagement we were looking for. It fosters great collaboration. That's next. It works in a wide variety of environments. And it really does give kids a fighting chance of being faced with a problem, not knowing how to start, getting engaged with their hands and minds, and eventually finding their own way to a solution. And with that, I also want to say that we're proud now to partner with STEAMS Lab Japan to bring the electric motors catalyst to children in Japan. STEAMS Lab, STEAM Education. STEAM Education, for those who are less familiar, is a multidisciplinary educational approach that uses science, technology, engineering, art, and math as access points for guiding student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. And STEAMS Lab Japan is an importer and distributor of STEAM toys and kits from around the world. They're localizing our kit, the electric motors catalyst, for the Japanese market. We'll also be collaborating with STEAMS Lab. We're moving to the right, to develop an immersive online experience that kids ages 8 to 12 can participate in using the electric motors catalyst. And here's some pictures of what that will look like. We've run several tests, and you can see the kids engaging with the kit online. And now I would like to turn the mic over to my friend and partner, Gabriel Tully. He's going to talk a little bit about Brightworks and the Brightworks ARC. Hopefully some of you saw the video at the beginning of it, and we'll get into more details and share some ideas that I hope you can all use. Thank you.
When you were a kid and you had a thing that you loved more than anything in the world, maybe it was bugs, maybe it was unicorns,
Thank you, Matt.
maybe it was...
And thank you everyone for coming out. I wonder if you could do a favor for me. I would like to take a picture of you for my students. So please.
一つお願いがあるんですけれども、ゲーバーさんの生徒に写真を送りたいので、ぜひ写真を撮らせてください。
1、2、3、4。Yes, thank you.
ありがとうございます。
Okay. One of the things that makes Brightworks different from traditional schools is that it relies on an unusual pedagogical system that we call the ARC. We divide the year into 2 arcs, and each arc is divided into 3 phases. Every arc has a theme, a concept that is the focus of the school, kindergarten through 12th grade. This is the thing that we're all working on. This is the thing that we're trying to understand. There are no textbooks, there are no tests, and there is no assigned homework. There are no grades, just the good work that we do together. It is impossible to cheat at Brightworks because collaboration is a fundamental part of life. Here, we want everyone to share all of their work all of the time. For this example, let's imagine that the topic of this arc is salt. Just imagine that for the next 19 weeks, whether you're a student or staff, you are devoting yourself to understanding salt. The first phase is exploration. This is a period of time when the teacher works with the students to develop and execute a plan together to learn as much as they can about the topic. They connect with outside experts like geologists and marine biologists and chemists. Together, they make discoveries and they do group projects that help them understand more about salt and why it is important to life. The second phase of the arc is initiated when the student makes a declaration to the school. The declaration is a project proposal with a plan, a budget, and all of their research up to this point. The projects can include other students, but each student writes their own declaration. Once the declaration is approved, more than half of every day is dedicated to their work on their project. The school becomes this busy hive of activity, and almost every morning during the all-school meeting, students will report on their accomplishments and setbacks. It's a very exciting time to be at the school as amazing projects start to become real. During the Salt Arc, students built a sailboat and sailed it, distilled 4 kinds of salt from seawater, found ancient salt deposits in a cave, and built a microscope for looking at the single-celled organisms, and so much more. The last phase of the arc we call exposition, a time of sharing and reflecting on our work. Each student makes a formal presentation to the school. Parents and experts come to see the work and celebrate the accomplishments and the progress, even if the project didn't finish on time. Part of what we are learning is how to get real work done. And for that lesson to be learned, we sometimes have to try the impossible. Brightworks is a school where students work together across the ages and in collaboration with all of the staff. Together, we all make it one of the most interesting places on earth. The ARC creates the overall framework. Whoops, I'm on the wrong slide. Oh no, sorry. The ARC creates the overall framework for project-based learning at Brightworks. I would now like to share some specific techniques that we have found effective. And we're going to cover what kinds of projects work well for project-based learning, how to create a learning environment that supports engaged students, and some teaching techniques that help students work independently and take charge of their own learning. Everybody ready? Okay.
Yeah.
You're so quiet. My students are much louder. Adopting project-based learning may seem daunting at first. There are really just 4 things to think about when designing a learning experience. The first is what we call a low threshold entry point. You want something that students can get their hands on and engage with directly and immediately. A problem that can be easily understood and approached from many different directions. Here we see that she is trying to make a wheel by wrapping wire around itself. She has achieved a very rough approximation of her goal, but her experiments with the wheel show that it doesn't roll very well. She understands that it needs to be more round. Here in her third attempt, she has a functional pair of wheels. She constructed this by first straightening the wire, then wrapping the 2 ends around a marker. And this rolls effortlessly across the table. And her first goal is achieved. And we, as the educator, note that her skills in visualizing a solution and then creating it have improved. We see the progress. The second thing to keep in mind is to ensure that there are many possible solutions. We call this the wide solution space. No matter what concept we're trying to teach, there are many ways to get there and many nearby concepts that are equally valid destinations. Additionally, if there's only one solution, the students may stop exploring possibilities and wait to be shown the answer by the teacher. Here, we see 2 very different ways to make an egg beater using the electric motor's catalyst. Not every attempt works, and this is critical to the learning process. Failure must be seen as a learning experience. Failure is progress. We teach the students to say, now I know another way that doesn't work. What shall I try next? Cutting paper is an activity that all students understand. But making a machine that can cut paper is something entirely new. Because they are familiar with the problem of cutting paper, they are quick to start trying out various solutions. Here's a novel and fun way to cut paper invented by a 6-year-old first grader with a saw. I got it. I got it. Incorporating materials and tools from our environment is a fundamental skill in the STEM fields. Here we see the application of a motor and a linkage to a pair of scissors. You can imagine these high school students thinking about how to cut paper and simplifying the problem into, how can I motorize these scissors? A good solution that is nothing like the rotary cutter we just saw. It's not fast, but it does cut. We make a fundamental distinction between projects, between challenges and instructions. Challenges define a destination. Instructions tell us what to do to get there. Put another way, challenges give us motivation to learn. In the previous example, we might have said, invent a machine that can cut paper. This simple challenge immediately empowers the student to start thinking on their own, to apply what they already know in a new way. So it is important to let them explore possibilities and to try things that we, as educators, may already know will not work. We have to let them try. By exploring possible solutions, they learn the concepts that are exposed by the materials and the context of the challenge. This is where their intrinsic motivation drives them to try things and experiment and to better understand the problem itself. What was unexpected in this student's, where am I? I'm sorry, my apology. What was unexpected in this student's solution was that it solved a much harder problem. Here he is demonstrating that his floating platform is so stable that it can hold a heavy hex nut far above the rim of the container. Are we in the same place? Okay. Finally, we suggest that some of the best PBL experiences support very quick design. Very quick design, build, and test cycles that enable the students to quickly gain better understanding of the challenge and their own solution. We want to be able to start fast. Our ideas are often not perfect in the very first attempt, and it's important to be able to get the feedback we need directly from the thing that we built, the thing that we're working on. The beauty of low precision is that your solution is probably close, in the right ballpark, but we will need some work to get it working correctly or well enough. What we really want as educators is to see that they are making progress towards a goal with a solution that they are understanding better and better with each experiment, building knowledge. One of the keys to successful PBL is choosing the right kinds of projects. If you define projects that meet these 4 criteria, you will be on the right track. Now I'd like to talk about how to provide students with a learning environment that will support them in doing their best work and get the most out of these PBL experiences. Click to add notes. The 3 drivers of high quality engagement. The first, The first is agency. You have great ideas. In order for students to imagine unique solutions to a problem, they need to feel comfortable sharing their ideas. Listen to their ideas without judgment and highlight what seems interesting to them by repeating their idea back to them in your own words as an educator. The second one is tough. All good work is good. We support students working on their own goals by highlighting the quality of their effort, how hard they're working. They may not be excited by the challenge we've given, but if they are doing good work on something else, then they are learning. We can feel confident that our provocation has inspired them to tackle their own challenge. Time. Time is the most valuable resource a teacher has, and it can be difficult to allow students to explore something at their own pace. But by making time, we greatly increase the value of the learning opportunity. So we try constantly to remind ourselves, there is no rush. Life is long. Everyone has their own path to understanding a new topic. And making sure that students have time to explore the problem space means that they can focus and find the solution that makes sense to them. Not just my solution, their solution. Second part, there's always more that we could do, more that we could improve. But getting it working is more important than making it perfect. When starting a new problem, we ask, what is the simplest solution? And then we build that, and we test it. And then we ask, how can this be improved? And then we improve it. Oh, get out of there. Ah. And the last part is the story. We work hard when we have a reason to work hard. Starting with a challenge, we can make a little story around it. The little hippopotamus has too many big pieces of paper and needs a machine that can cut paper into smaller pieces. Helping out the little hippo can feel important even when we know it is imaginary. After a few examples, students start to write their own stories around the challenges. Here we see students who decided that they needed to build a taco truck in order to feed the school. Of course, the school had solutions for feeding everyone, but this was a story that they leaned into. They worked from their first diagram through the working taco truck, making a system to move the taco truck and preparing and then presenting the food. They had 3 days of very engaged learning of building, making tacos, and doing all the financial transactions, all based on this made-up story that the school needed a way to feed itself. Here they are, moving their taco truck into the big yard to start selling tacos at lunchtime. A glorious end to a great project. By focusing on creating student-centric learning, student-focused, we are preparing them to self-direct more and to become lifelong learners. Finally, we have 3 techniques that really promote student independence. These techniques help the kids keep working when the teacher is not available to help them in the moment. The first of these is to redirect approval seeking. Students have a tendency to seek approval for every little step that they take. If we can redirect their attention back to their work, then they can learn to evaluate it for themselves. We have a couple of techniques for this. The first, the answer to, is this right, is, what do you think? Do you think it is working? It is very important that students of all ages learn to evaluate their own work. The second is, we can highlight good work by speaking directly about it. Those wheels look very sturdy. Or, I see how you have those pens mounted. So that their attention is drawn back to the quality of their own work, not to your evaluation as a teacher. Oh, pardon me. Finally, Secondly, look for STEAM fruit, meaning look for opportunities to highlight the big STEAM concepts that are embedded in the kids' work, but may not be visible to them. Physics and math concepts are so abundant in project-based learning. As teachers, we are constantly looking for ways to demonstrate the value of math and physics. And when we make those ideas visible and valuable, they become interesting and important to the students. Number one, highlight the basic physics concepts or ideas as they happen. A student might notice that two pieces of wood screwed together at a right angle, not very strong. They may also realize that they make it stronger with a triangle of wood. But what size triangle? This is an opportunity to learn about levers and the forces in a context that matters to the student in that moment. The next is ask questions about the observed phenomena. What they notice is more important than what we hoped they would learn. Being curious is one of the most valuable personal characteristics in life. For example, if they have noticed that their creation is drawing larger circles and that the other machines that students around them have built are drawing smaller circles, instead of giving them a solution for drawing smaller circles, ask questions until they come up with a hypothesis. Isn't that interesting? Why do you think it is happening? Why do you think yours is making large circles? What do you notice is different about your machine compared to a machine that is making big circles? Above all, make sure that they know that small circles and big circles are both great. These techniques help us shape the learning experience to be more engaging and therefore more effective for students. With more independence, they're more committed to their own learning, and they get more from the time they spend at school. PBL really does become easier and more effective if you keep these factors in mind. First, choose projects that have these 4 attributes. Then, create a learning environment that nurtures high-quality engagement. And last, facilitate using techniques that support student independence. These ideas have been very useful to us over the years, and I hope that they'll be useful for you. Thank you all for your attention, and I would like to hand the mic back to my friend Matt.
Yes.
Oh, great, thank you.
So we're going to have questions.
Oh, great.
ありがとうございます。質疑応答の時間を設けさせていただきたいと思うんですけれども、まず最初にですね、林先生、竹本先生から一つずつご質問をいただきたいと思うんですが、竹本先生、お願いいたします。
はい、私も大学で PBL のプロジェクトを担当して責任者やっておりますので、非常に興味深く話を聞かせていただきましてありがとうございました。一つって言われたら2ついいですかね。はい、ちょっと2つほど今質問があります。一つは今日お話しいただいた STEAM 教育をベースとした PBL の学習環境において数学とか理科といったそういった一般教科の学力向上はもちろんあると思うんですね。ただ目的は今日の話を聞いたとそうではなくて非認知能力のようなものに対して高い効果があると想定されると思います。そのような非認知能力を測定評価するために、ゲーバーさんはどのようなツールや方法を用いていますかっていうのが一つです。続いて2つ目もよろしいですかね。2つ目としてはこれは日本の課題ではあるんですけども、特に地方では人口減少という非常に厄介な問題、社会問題が発生しています。で今こういった問題に対処する人材育成というのは急務だというふうに言われているんですけども、こういった問題に対処するために 教育現場ではどういった変化が必要というふうにお感じになっておられるかというこの2点をお伺いできればと思います。
Thank you very much for your question. So, Gaber, it's a two-part question, and the first part is that it's well understood that project-based learning can have good outcomes in typical subjects such as math and science, but also probably in non-cognitive skills. And he's interested in learning how you measure and evaluate non-cognitive skills with Brightworks, and please share that with us. The second part of the question presents one of the dilemmas facing Japan today, which is a declining population, especially in younger people, especially in rural areas. So he wants to know what changes you think are possible in education that could help present solutions to those kinds of social problems. Thank you.
Okay. So, easy questions. If you don't mind, I would like to sit down.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll start with your first question. Thank you. I mean no disrespect. I think that to answer your first question of how we measure and evaluate the progress of children when we don't have tests, which I think you're all used to. We use a technique we call narrative assessment, and it is something that the student and the teacher write together, and the student presents to the parents. And it describes in narrative form the experience of the last arc that the student had. In there, we highlight certain kinds of markers, and I won't give you all of them, but I'll give you the top ones. We are looking for the development of the whole child, not just how they're doing on the STEAM topics, but are they getting better at conflict resolution? Are they de-escalating in moments of conflict and making things easier for students around them? Are they sharing openly their big ideas, their concerns? Are they communicating clearly? Are they spontaneously collaborating with other students who might need their help in that moment? Do they just stand up and help that person? And maybe one of the most important for students entering a world that is changing so much, are they able to stick with a hard problem and work through it, even when it's frustrating? We call that tenacity. Do they have that? Are they becoming tenacious? Struggle with that hard problem and work with it until they find a solution. Do you want to answer? Should we pause there and you translate?
Yes, please.
And then I'll do the second part. Yeah.
ありがとうございます。こちら1つ目の質問について回答します。先ほどもお話があった通り、ブライトワークスではテストがない中、非認知能力というのをどう評価するかというところなんですが、narrative assessment というナラティブ評価という手法を使っております。で、こちらは先生と生徒一緒に考えて、それを親御さんに発表するというような仕組みになります。で、いろいろな、評価基準はあるんですけれども、例えば、例として問題解決能力、あとは、自己コントロール能力、あとは、突然現れてきた、他者と共同する力っていうのを、つけられるか。そして、一番強調されていたのが、困難に直面した時に問題に その問題に取り組むための忍耐力、それをつけることができるかっていう、どっちかというと感情の発達に関する要素を、強く評価されているようです。で、そうですね。で、自発的な協力っていうよりも、大人に言われたからではなくて、自分で自発的にできる協力、共同っていうのが一番、重視していて、その子どもの知識というよりも全体的な、人間性というのを見て評価されているっていう回答をいただきました。Okay, can you answer the second question?
The second part of your question about the declining population in Japan, I think is only one of the challenges that you face. I think there's a lot going on right now that makes being a student or being an adult complicated. Declining population, climate change, the emergence of AI, terrorism, all of the things that go up here. What the future demands from us is that we be dynamic, flexible thinkers, that we be dedicated lifelong learners. Change is inevitable. What we need to be able to do is adapt to change. If the only answer we accept is the one on the test, the students will stop looking for any other solutions. After they leave school, how can we expect them to find new innovations and new solutions to problems we've never seen before? There aren't going to be any more tests. There's only going to be life. We should be as much alive as we can be. We should focus on the things that make us human. Communication, collaboration, empathy. We can solve these problems together, but only if we enjoy being human.
2つ目の質問に回答いたしますと、先ほど地方の、人口減少っていう、課題が出てきたと思うんですけれども、これは、あくまでも一つの課題に過ぎないということでした。我々の中にそれ以外にも、経済的な課題、環境、あとは、技術革新って AI だったり、今子どもたちがこれまでの世代にはないあらゆる変化に直面することになっています。なのでそれを、素直に受け止めて、先ほどの話もあったように生涯勉強をするという姿勢でそれを受け入れた上で常に変化し続けることが、重要になってくるんじゃないかということと、あと、私たちの人間を表す人間であること、人間の大事なこと、それがコミュニケーションだったりコラボレーションだったりエンパシーだったり、そういう面が重要になってくるんじゃないかっていうのと、あと、不確実性にいろいろある不確実性に対処できるようになるのに、その最善の準備としてその、人間力を磨くのが重要だっていうことをおっしゃっております。Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。では続きまして、林先生、よろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you very much for wonderful speech today. I'm very impressed, and I got many ideas to educate our students. 私たちの学部は全員に対して東南アジアへの半期の留学を課しています。海外で生活するというプロジェクトを与えることで、母国語とか母国の文化っていう安全な場所から離れることになります。広い世界に出て初めて海外で生活することで人生を変えるような経験を、学生が経験するというのを私たちは見てきました。でも一方で留学は安全な日本を離れて生活することですよね。 なのでしばしば危険を伴うことがあると思うんです。It's very dangerous going abroad。日本では学生が不安や危険な状況に置かれた時に保護者が大学へ責任を追及することがあるんですよね。でこの時に学生たちを送り出す大学側は留学中の学生たちに対してどこまでサポートをするべきでしょうか。例えば心配しながらも余計なサポートはほとんどしないで見守るのか、ブライトワークスクールみたいに、あるいは過保護に手厚いサポートを日本から行うべきなのか。そしてもう一つなんですが、学生たちの留学がより実りのあるものにするためには、学生たちを送り出す大学側が事前に行うことのできる何か教育的な準備というものはどのようなものが考えられると思いますか。どうぞ。
Thank you for your question, Hayashi-sensei. So Hayashi-sensei asks a question. His school, his department sends all of their students abroad to study in Southeast Asia for some amount of time. And this is an experience they want students to have, and they've seen students grow in many interesting and formative ways through this experience. Students will interact with a second language, and they'll be in an environment they're not used to. But living abroad can also come with some dangers. I think it's well known and in fact well perceived across Japan that Japan is a safe country, so they might encounter some dangers that they're unfamiliar with. And one of the downsides of this is that parents who may not have had these experiences want to place responsibility with the university for the students' discomfort or maybe any dangerous experiences that they encounter. So in relation to that, what kind of preparation or what kind of support should the university provide for students before they go abroad or while they're abroad? Should it be a little? Or none, in fact, like right works, or should it be a lot? Should they have a lot of support? Should they go in a group, for example, or with other educators? And what education can they prepare students with before sending them off, so that they can guarantee a safe and happy experience?
I can help with that one if you want.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Is that okay?
I'm going to bring my friend Matt up.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gaber. And thank you for that question. There are a few parts to your question, I think. One had to do with the going outside of your comfort zone, and the other had to do with danger. And those are not the same thing. So I think that's one important fact. In our view, going outside of your comfort zone as part of foreign travel, like the foreign travel we're doing right now, is not a problem to avoid, but the point of the experience. And we hope that that you would encourage. I guess our advice would be try to encourage students to see those places where they're doing something that's different in an environment that's maybe not comfortable, as an opportunity to see possibilities in it, and not to just think, well, how can I avoid this, but what new opportunities does this offer to me? And so I think that's one aspect of it. The second thing that you mentioned, though, was about danger, and in some cases there are real dangers, and if you know what they are and the students don't, I do think you have a responsibility to tell them. So. We wouldn't give a young child a tool to use without teaching them how to use it safely. And if, for example, there are places in the world where it's not safe for a young woman to get in a taxi by herself. And if you've grown up in Japan, you may not know that. If you know that you're sending a student to a place where that's the case, you should tell them, and inform them and give them the information they need to manage their own safety. just like we do, I would say, with the students. We don't want to be there all the time watching them use the tool, but we do want them to know within themselves how to be safe. And then I guess the last part was about how can we prepare the students for this? And I think it really comes down to the same things Gabriel said earlier to the previous question of finding a way to allow students to embrace new experiences and new environments, and look at them not only for how can I maintain the way things have been, but how can I see the opportunities in the way things are changing? Because they're going to be in a world of very, very rapid change. So, thank you very much. Anything to add to that?
That was great.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
We'll let you go.
質問に回答させていただくんですけれども、今、カンフォートゾーン、居心地の良い場所っていう面と、危険という面の2つの、角度から回答させていただくんですけれども、まず、自分の居心地の良い場所にとどまるっていう、とどまり続けるのは、人生において考えにくいかなっていうことで、必ず訪れる、ことだと言ってます。で、経験の一つにもなるし、今、居心地の良い場所から出た状況でも、それがもたらすチャンスを探ることを学ぶことができれば、人生がより豊かになったり、経験につながるので、出ることは重要、それを、前向きに捉えるということが一つです。で、危険についてなんですけれども、確かに危険なものはございます。例えば、ブライトワークスの学校でも危険な工具はあります。ですが、それをただ単純に生徒に与えるのではなく、ちゃんと危険であることを伝えた上で正しい使い方を伝えて、それを、分かっていただいた上で責任を持って生徒に使っていただきます。で、それと同じように世界にも本当に危険な場所があるのは事実であって、例えば若い女性が、一人でタクシーに乗るのが危険な場所もあります。それはしっかりと伝えて、事実を伝えて、それを、覚悟の上で、自分でも身を自分で守るという、考えをちゃんときちんと伝える責任は学校にもあるということです。で、最後に、準備という面なんですが、ちょっと一番の、居心地の良い場所から出るとは似てしまうんですけれども、その全ての、ネガティブに思うのではなく、全ての経験を、受け入れて、それが、新しい自分の人生、新しい体験につなげられるように見れれば、留学という新しい、人生においての新しい考え方が生まれるんじゃないかということです。ありがとうございます。それではこれから、皆さんの中でも質疑応答を受け付けさせていただきたいと思うんですけれども、もしご質問等がございましたら、可能であれば手短にまとめていただきまして、挙手をお願いしたいんですけれども、はい、ありがとうございます。
I am Aki. Thank you for your interesting story. I have a question. When I work with others, I don't know what I am supposed to do. How can I find my role?
ありがとうございます。一応日本語でも質問の方をやらせていただきますと、人と、コラボレーションというお話があったと思うんですけれども、人と協業するとき、自分の役割がわからない、どうしたらいいかわからない、どうしたらいいかというアドバイスを聞いていただいたと思うのでよろしいでしょうか。はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you for your question and thank you for putting it in my language. If I understand you correctly, you're saying when you're working with a group, you don't know how to make the first step or how to contribute. Yeah. That's because we don't practice working in groups like that very often in a traditional classroom. Each of you right now is sitting in your own chair. If you were taking a test, you would be asked not to look at the test next to you. This is not a very human behavior, right? And so we must practice the art of collaboration, which is to be able to be comfortable with each other with the things we don't know. I don't have to be first. It's okay that I don't know something, but maybe you know something. And I'd like to give an example. Can you catch us up?
ありがとう。まず質問の方ありがとうございます。こちらですね、人とどう関わっているのかわからないということはもうみんなが思うことで当たり前のことであって、これは伝統的なクラスの教室ですとやはり、あまり人同士で関わるっていうのは求められてはいません。でそれはもともと人間的ではないので、まず、お互い知らないことを知らなくてもいいんだっていうことを認めたり言ったり、まずそこの、人と関わることで出てくる衝撃っていうものにそれでもいいんだっていう、居心地の良さを感じることをまず練習して大丈夫なんだっていうのを自分で思う練習がまず必要だということを言ってます。
Thank you. I'd like to teach you Japanese. I learned on the drive coming here. It was a very long drive, and I saw the street signs and the freeway exit signs. And I learned some Japanese on the way here. I'll show you what I figured out.
ここまでの大体1時間半の道のり車で、学んだ日本語について窓を見てたら学んだ日本語についてちょっと例として教えていただけるそうです。
Street mouth exit. I'm not sure this is street, but I know this is mouth. Because my friend helped me. It's okay not to know. I'll give you another example. Raise your hand if you know what this means.
では出口を、口っていうマウって口っていうのを分かってたんですけれども、もともとは分かって知らなかったで教えてもらった。でそれを別に恥ずかしくは思わないっていう例になります。もう一つの例です。
Is that right? Street? I don't think so.
That means getting out.
Getting out. Okay. All together. Exit. We're learning Japanese together. Okay. Anybody know what this is?
誰か分かる方いらっしゃいますか？
You mean people?
Say again?
People?
People. Yeah, purple. People. I thought it was person. No, I thought it was mountain. But it means people. Yeah. People. So on the drive here, I'm watching the signs come by, and I start to see these symbols over and over again. And I start to look for a clue, but I can't figure it out. I can't know this just by what I see. And so I have to ask someone I met yesterday, please, can you explain this for me? And all of a sudden, she is happy that she gets to share something, and I am happy that I get to learn something.
この文字を何度も何度も車の中から見て、でも何なのかわからない。だから、結果として、例えば私だったらもう昨日出会った誰かに聞くことしか解決策はない。でもその聞くことによって、聞いたことによって知る喜び、聞かれた人は教える喜び、それがコラボレーションで生じます。
Now we're friends.
大親友です。
Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you.
Do we have another question? Ah, and one in the back.
Thank you. My name is Ikika. I run a small international school in the little town Hachoji. So, in order to support students, you said, I learned from your website, you did a lot of social emotional learning. I'm very interested in social emotional learning because my school, in previous school, I used to work in San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh.
So tell me a little bit more about your social emotional learning approach.
社会文化学について今、ホームページ上で見ていただいた情報をちょっと詳しく教えていただきたいということだったんですけど、英語で言うと Social Emotion Learning、感情とか、あとは、情緒的なものの、学びについてちょっと詳しく教えていただきたいと思います。
Oh, I was learning Japanese. I don't know the kanji for this, so maybe you can add it. Thank you. Do you know the kanji for trust? Would you? Yeah, please.
確認してください。
See, I'm still learning Japanese. The social and emotional health of the child is the most important aspect of the school. No matter what age you are, little kid, college student, adult, if you don't feel trusted, then you don't trust the environment and you don't share your ideas. If you don't share your ideas, we don't know what you're learning. And the way that I tell you that I trust you is I give you a power tool. And I show you how to use it. And once you have demonstrated that you can use it safely, I work with a different student and I hear you making cuts on the power tool. That's one way we can show that we trust the child. It starts with trust. And that's the very first thing that we explain to students when they arrive. I trust you. You are a good and interesting person and I trust you. Now let's get to work.
一番、先ほど書いていただいてありがとうございます。信頼という言葉をとても重要視大切にしておりまして、信頼していなければ、お互い何も共有もできない、共有しなければ何を学んでいるかも理解できない。で、信頼している子どもたち、ゲイバーさんが子どもたちに信頼しているっていう証拠として、まず、危険な工具を渡すっていうことを言っています。で、もちろんしっかりと、使い方を教えた上なんですけれども、信頼しているっていう証拠に、工具を渡して、彼自身は見ないふりをして違う子どもたちと、接して、その間もう自由に使わせるっていうことで、信頼っていうことを非常に重要視して、信頼がないと何も始まらないということで今書いていただきました。
The next part is the moment when the child realizes they can trust you. That's when learning can happen. Now, everybody is working together to understand SALT, politics, chemistry, history, calculus, doesn't matter. We can learn anything together. That's what we were made for, is to learn. When we are learning together, then we're at our most human, sharing ideas, creating new solutions to the big problems we face today.
今最初の言っていただいた信頼っていうのは、大人が子供に対する信頼で、その次2番目に関しては子供が、そしたら次に子供が大人を信頼していいんだっていうフェーズになります。 そこで初めて一緒にいろいろと学べることになります。使用であれ、科学であれ、数学で学ぶことは何でもいいんです。ただ一緒に学ぶ、そのために私たちは生まれてきたっていうこととで、一緒に共有して何か大きい新しいものを作ることがやっと、一緒に、信頼をすることによって達成されるっていうことを言っております。
And you had a question. It's coming.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your speech. I have a question about how to educate the parents of your students, because I think in education, parents and the environment of the family is very crucial, and the attitude of parents is deeply connected to the culture and education they actually got long before. Especially in Japan, there is culture that the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. So I want to hear your opinions about how to educate the children, parents. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。日本語で要約させていただきますと、この、保護者に対する教育についてだと思います。で、日本文化、特に日本文化って結構、いろんな制限があったりいろいろあるかと思うんですけれども、やはり影響されやすいっていうところで、その保護者、教育について教えていただきたいと思います。
The answer is parents have to come back to school. They have to learn about new kinds of education because they went through education of 10 or 20 years ago, which was even more strict than this is. How can we expect them to understand a new model if they don't know what to look for in the growth of their child? Right now, they get a report card that tells them how their child is doing. I don't think you should be represented by a number. I think when your parents look at you as a student, they should see all of you as a whole person, not just a number. So we have to show video that explains there's another way that education can be. And there are so many other ways it can be. Mine is not the only one. Yes.
まず冒頭におっしゃっていたのが、保護者の方もまた学校に生き直すべきだということで、自分たちが学んできたモデルではない新しいモデルを学ぶためにはやはり見て自分たちで見るしかないんですけど、今の、子どもたちって成績表ですねで評価されて、その数字によって子どもたちの成長を見るべきではないということを強調されております。数字で評価するよりも人間そのものとして評価するべきであって、その具体的な方法としては、いわゆるビデオを見せたりですね、親御さんに実際に見てもらって、彼がおっしゃっていたのは、もちろんブライトワークスもあくまでも一つの教育法であって、いろんな教育法があるので、あるということです。
Can I add one little short story? When I started the school, I had parents who were so excited to be there with their children. About 3 years in, one of the most excited parents says, "So, when is she going to take a spelling test?" And I looked at her and I said, "Your daughter is a passionate writer. She's written 3 novels in 1 year." And the parent says, "But she can't spell." And I said, "I know, but look at how much she writes."
当初学校を設立した時に親御さんたちはとても、興奮していて楽しみにしていた親御さんばかりでした。でも大体3年ぐらい経った時にある一番興奮していた親御さんから、いつ自分の子供が、スペリングですね、アルファベットが正しく辻が合っているかというテスト、いつそれをするのかっていう聞いてきました。で、彼女はとっても書くのが好きで、1年でもう3冊の小説も書いている。それは分かっているけど、その文字の綴りを間違っているんだっていう親御さんは心配していたので、その質問がありました。
We build passion, spelling comes later. Let's all learn from a place of passion.
スペリング、綴りの正しさではなくて、その書くことの情熱だったりパッションが大切で、そういう強い心を持った生徒たちを育てたいって思っている。
Thank you.
ですけれども、時間の関係上こちらの方で、次は締め切らせていただきたいと思います。その他質問事項をございましたら、メールで林先生宛てに送っていただければ後日回答させていただきますので、よろしくお願いいたします。では林先生、締めのお言葉どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you very much. はい、皆さんね、今日はありがとうございます。皆さんどうでした？お話を聞いていて。私は個人的にものすごい感動したというか、なんかこの学部がやっぱり目指しているところってこういうところにあるのかなというふうに感じました。そして多くの方々、僕だけかもしれないんですが、今日のお話を聞いていて、子供の頃に経験したことがあるなって思った方結構いらっしゃるんじゃないでしょうかね。ただ不思議なことにですね、我々は子供の頃に誰もが持っていたこれは何とかこれはなぜとかっていう好奇心が小学校、中学校、高校って上がってくるにつれて失われていませんか？だからそういうような感じがするんですよ。でその代わりにあれをしなさい、これをしなさい、この問題を解きなさい、そしてこのように答えなさいというようなことを教わる機会が増えてませんか？それは大学でも同じようなことやってますよね。この通りに答えなければあなたは間違いですよ、落第ですよ、60点超えませんよっていうことを私ももしかしたらやってたかなっていうことに、気づいたんですよね。でこれってなんか不幸なことだと思いません？皆さん非常に不幸だと思うんです。そもそも何かを知りたいとか何かを学びたいっていう衝動はなんか人間っていう生き物は幼い頃から誰もが持っているのかなって思うんですよね。でこれがもしなければ我々人類って進化の過程で滅びてません？滅びていないで今もこの地球上で生きていて地球を痛めつけるほど強くなっている。でそれはネガティブに考えれば痛めつけているんだけれども、ポジティブに考えれば我々は生き残っているっていうことですよね。でおそらく生き残った結果というのはそういった何かを知りたいとか何かを学びたいとかっていうようなそもそものところに あるのかなっていうふうに私は思いました。ということは、そういったことをできない教育環境というのは、まさしくこれからの21世紀の地球社会で生き残るのが難しくなるのかなというふうに思いました。でその意味で今回のゲーバーさんとマットさんのお話はとても参考になりました。そして、またこの学部の話をするんですが、この学部は東南アジアへの半期の留学という異文化体験を柱にしながら、多様な人々と共同していくっていう気持ちを育む学部だと思うんですね。でその点でやっぱりこのブライトワークスクールの試みというのはこの学部の教育にとってもすごく参考になるところがあるのかなというふうに考えました。そして、今回多く参加している学生の皆さんですよね。タイトルを読んで興味を持ってきてくれた人も多いと思うんですが、もしかしたら皆さんの中でこういう話って遠い昔の話なのかなとか身近なことではないかななんてちょっと思ってる人もいると思うんですが、皆さんもやがて家庭を持つかもしれないじゃないですか。そして皆さんも自分の子供を持つかもしれないじゃないですか。その時に皆さんはおそらく一度は悩むと思うんですよね。自分の子供をどういうふうに育てたいのか。その時に、今回のお話というのがすごく参考になればいいなというふうに私は思ってます。受験競争っていうのを勝ち抜いてね、でカッコつきの偏差値の高いいい学校、カッコつきのいい学校ですよ。偏差値の高いそういうところを目指すのって幸せですかね。そして小学生の時に、小学生に自分の子供にお昼と夜のお弁当を渡して塾に行かせて高い偏差値を取ることに一喜一憂するような親になりたいですか皆さん。確かにかつての日本はそういったことをやったことによって得た能力というのが生かされるような時代はあったと思うんですが、もう終わってるんですよ。それはこれ青学の教授が言ってるんですよ。まがりなりにも偏差値は低くないですよこの大学。でもこの当事者がそれを言ってるんですよ。で先ほど学生さんからね、親の教育って話が出ましたよ。皆さんね、昭和の親になっちゃダメですよ。もう皆さんの時代変わったんですよ。ブライトワークスクールみたいな、ことをやった方がよっぽど生き残れるんですよ、これからの時代はね。それをもっと強く認識してもらいたいし、あとは日本では小中高はこの重要性に気づいているんですが、実は大学はまだまだ全然気づいていないんです。そこがやはり大学人として大学で教育するものとして変えていきたいなと思うところですね。それでは本日は本当にゲーバーさん、マットさんありがとうございました。 Thank you very much。 そして僕の愛する後輩である竹本教授、本学の経営学部の卒業生です。そしてSTEAMSラボジャパンの皆さん、鈴木社長をはじめ島さん、ありがとうございます。そしてこの場を貸していただいた温かい心をお持ちの地球社会共生学部の教諭の皆さん、そして青山キャンパスの学生の皆さん、そして教育関係者の皆さん、本当に今日はありがとうございました。最後にですね、エリック学部長の方からゲーバーさんとマットさんへ記念品の贈呈がございます。
ダンクでなんかもう大きくないから
電気つけて。
This is a special gift for you. And this is called sensu. It's fun and traditional Japanese one.
Oh,
Sensu. Yeah. And this is created by the special craftsman, and he is graduate from American University.
Oh,
So we forced to create this very cheap. So that's very Japanese traditional one. So thank you very much for today.
thank you.
Thank you very much.